Welcome to Where Are They Now?, where we reach into the archives of Lenape, Shawnee, Cherokee, and Seneca high schools and invite selected alumni to share their memories and fill us in on their career paths after commencement. Since Lenape's first graduating class in 1961, Shawnee's in 1972, Cherokee's in 1978, and Seneca's in 2005, over 77,000 individuals have received diplomas from these four schools. Join us now for another Lenape District alumni interview on Where Are They Now?
Hello and welcome to another edition of Where Are They Now? I'm Mark Sonsini, a 1996 graduate of Cherokee High School, and today we'll be talking with a Seneca alumnus from the class of 2013. She is currently a PhD candidate in the University of Pennsylvania Molecular Biology program, residing in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'd like to welcome Kelsey O'Brien to the show. Kelsey, great to have you here.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about what you've been doing since your time at Seneca. First, let's go back and talk about Seneca a little bit. You grew up in Southampton?
Yes, I did. I grew up in Southampton.
And any siblings or family members at Seneca with you?
Yeah, so my sister, she was a graduate of 2015, Katie O'Brien, and also two cousins, Kaylin O'Brien and Christina O'Brien. 2013 for Kaylin, and Christina was she's 3 years older, 2010.
Okay. And then also your aunt worked at Seneca at the time, yes. Laura Hoy, for English.
Yes, she did. I had the privilege of having her as a teacher too, as well. So that was a cool experience, definitely.
Very cool. Let's talk about some of your activities at Seneca. You were very involved athletically with soccer, basketball, and track. Tell me about some of those.
Yeah, so I played soccer all growing up. So I was able to play soccer at Seneca, which was great. I was a goalkeeper. Okay. Favorite position on the field, definitely. Basketball, so I played basketball. Sean Kennevan was the coach at the time. Absolutely loved playing basketball for Seneca. And for track and field, I did track and field my senior year and threw the javelin, which was a lot of fun. Very
cool. And you were also involved with National Honor Society and band with Mr. Keith Stiers as well.
Yes, I was. I played the flute.
Okay. How long did you play the flute?
I played the flute all through middle school, so I guess starting in 6th grade, and then just played it all the way up through high school.
Okay, excellent. One of the teachers that made an impact on you at Seneca, aside from Mr. Kennevan and Mr. Stiers, was Mr. Connect for English. Tell me about him.
Yeah, Mr. Connect was great. I, even though I'm a biologist, English class was always one of my favorite classes, and I just remember, just learning a lot about writing from him, and I just loved his approach with how he, I guess, delved into literature and just how he engaged with the class, and is also just a lovely, lovely human.
Very nice. Some of your special memories from Seneca. We mentioned playing basketball, and your senior year, you guys won the South Jersey Group 3 championship. That must have been exciting.
Yeah, my junior year, actually.
So
my junior year, it was a lot of fun. That is one of my favorite athletic memories. My junior year, I wasn't a starter or anything. I was, a bench player on the team, but just, that team was so much fun to be a part of, and led by Mr. Kennevan as well. That was just a really fantastic experience that I think about a lot when I think about my, athletic career in high school.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned the Walk Under Our Stars, which was a cancer awareness and fundraising walk done at Seneca. Tell me about that.
Yeah, something that I think back on when I think about, good times at Seneca from like an academic perspective and things they did to kind of unify the student body. We had this, I'm sure they still do, One Book, One School. I think that's what it's called. I'm not sure if that's across Lenape Regional. Yes. But everybody would, have to read a book, and we would have some type of themed school spirit event. And there was one year when we read The Fault in Our Stars and then did I think it was like a 12-hour walkathon. We came to the football field at like 6 p.m. and had this whole 12-hour all-night walkathon. Everybody would kind of get into teams. We pitched up tents. There were events, a bonfire. I thought that was a really, really cool and unique school bonding experience. So I love to share that with people when I talk about high school.
Yeah, that was cool. And that was pretty original at the time. They hadn't, definitely Seneca had not done something like that before, and I don't know if many of the other schools in the area had done that. So that was pretty cool. And then obviously senior class trip was a great memory for you as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, class trip I'm sure is a great memory for everyone, but that's something I still to this day think about. Just yeah, a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Yeah. And then I want to share with you your senior quote from the yearbook. I don't know if you remember.
Oh geez, no, I don't. I don't.
No, I think it's a good one. It's
Awesome.
what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. And that's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I think that's a pretty good one for, a 17 or 18-year-old at the time.
I'm glad that 18-year-old me was picked a good quote that I can now at 29 be like, okay, good job.
Well done. Okay, so after graduating Seneca, you go off to Bard College, and you're majoring in biology. Tell us how you ended up there.
Yeah, so my choice to go to Bard was kind of a funny one. Most of my family went to Villanova, and Villanova was where I applied to and kind of saw myself going. But I, funny enough, was talking to one of my friends in BC Calculus at the time, and was telling me the story of she went up to this small liberal arts college in upstate New York and took this like crazy entrance exam where she just sat there and had to write an essay for 10 hours. And I was like, what is this weird college? So I looked it up. And so Bard College is this small college in upstate New York down in the Hudson Valley. And I saw that they were a D3 soccer team and they had a really tight-knit biology department. Okay. So I went up there on an open house. I was able to get FaceTime with the head of the biology department, which I thought was really unique. So it was really cool to get to, see somebody who's at the top of her field, interface and just talk about what the biology program looks like. And then I was able to play D3 soccer up there and also spend a lot of time in the lab. So it wound up being this perfect combination for me of academics and sports at the college level. So that's why I chose Bard.
Okay. And then at what point, I guess, at some point in high school, when did you decide that you wanted to go in the biology direction?
Yeah, there isn't one specific memory where I, thought, yes, I'm going to be a biologist. Mm-hmm. I think I've always just was kind of interested in science growing up. I always enjoyed science classes throughout middle school and high school. Okay. And biology in particular stood out to me. So I just kind of followed that passion into college.
Okay. And you mentioned playing soccer at Bard, and you were Student Athlete of the Year and also Liberty League All-Conference honorable mention. So you obviously did well playing at the D3 level.
Yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. Highly recommend D3 sports for anybody, especially if you're academically inclined. It was a fantastic experience.
And then at Bard, you also spent summers working in the microbiology lab on campus, correct?
Yep, that's correct. So every summer I would participate in a research opportunity called Bard Summer Research Institute, where we get paired with who became my mentor, a woman named Dr. Brooke Jude. And I would just spend summers doing research. And that definitely contributed heavily to my career development and where I'm at right now.
Sure. And then, so after graduating from Bard, you worked as a research technician at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia in the infectious disease lab. Tell me how you ended up there.
Yeah, so just kind of following through my, trajectory in undergrad, I, did summer research. I spent a lot of time in the lab, took a lot of science courses, and I knew that I really liked research, but I was trying to figure out if I wanted to continue forward and get a PhD. Okay. I just had a lot of interface with the professors at Bard, and I thought, hey, maybe this is something I can do. But before I started applying to PhD programs, I wanted to take 2 or 3 years to just really work in, I guess, kind of like the real world, yeah. Like a real world lab setting, and just see if this is something that I wanted to do. And, being from the, New Jersey, South Jersey area, Philadelphia has phenomenal institutions. So I applied to CHOP, Penn, different research labs, and decided to take a position at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and stayed there for about 3 years. And I really, really enjoyed it.
Okay. And then as your time there is sort of coming to a close and you're applying to PhD programs, we're talking about 2020, and obviously that's when the pandemic hit. So what was that experience like, being in an infectious disease lab when all this is happening?
Yeah, it was very interesting. So I was finishing up my time doing research in the lab that I was in, and I had already applied to a variety of different PhD programs, had gone and done my interviews, and I was trying to decide where I wanted to wind up right as the pandemic hit. Okay. So that was kind of wild. I think I got accepted to Penn. So Penn is where I'm at right now. And I decided to stick with Penn partially because, the pandemic hit and I was not sure if I was going to be able to relocate to the other locations that I got accepted to. But
Okay.
I also absolutely love Penn's program. But yeah, it was wild being in the lab. The lab that I was in did a lot of bacteriology work. So we didn't work on viruses as much. But,
Okay.
the pandemic hit, it was kind of all hands on deck. Anybody that
Right.
had any research experience in microbiology or virology, tried to bring in COVID somehow into their research interests.
Sure.
So most labs shut down for the most part and had reduced personnel. So that was really wild to, we would have to basically have a schedule where we would sign up and be like, okay, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Kelsey is the only person in the lab, right, to reduce any,
Okay.
potential spreading of COVID back and forth.
Right.
So that was a really interesting experience from the research lab side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
fascinating time
grad school started.
to be in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what goes into and what you're doing now as far as working towards your PhD and working towards your thesis. A lot of data collection, and tell me all about what is involved in that.
Yeah, so for the PhD program that I'm in, so it's in molecular biology, just very broadly. And my program, subgroup that I'm in, is specifically looking at infectious diseases and microbiology. So what goes into a PhD in molecular biology, there's no set timeline for how long it takes. It's an average completion time of about 5.5 to 6 years.
Okay.
So the first 2 years you come in and you are taking classes, just kind of like refreshers on more advanced biological principles, chemistry, all the, requirements you need to kind of complete your PhD.
Okay.
And then during that time, what you do is you rotate through different labs on campus. So you identify different professors who have research interests that align with your own interests. And you spend a couple of months doing research in their lab. And then by the end of your first year, you pick one of those labs to join.
Okay.
So I wound up picking the lab of Dr. Audrey Odom-John at CHOP. And so what I'm doing now is for the remaining 4 to 4.5 years is just conducting research on a specific topic. So I'm just essentially working with my professor, working with people in my lab to come up with an independent research question, answer that question, through the scientific method, and then the remaining about 6 months, once you collect all your data, is the actual writing up of your thesis.
Okay.
So that takes about 5.5 to 6 years in total.
Okay. And you're working on staph infections and bacteria, is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. So I guess very broadly, I work on the organism Staphylococcus aureus, which I think a lot of people are familiar as the causative bacteria of what we refer to as staph infections.
Okay.
If you're anybody who's into athletics, you may have heard of staph infections from, wrestling mats or, getting
Sure.
staph infection from football pads, right? So that's the most common, I guess, place we hear of it. So
Right.
I work on the bacteria specifically that causes those infections. And my research is focused around the bacterial metabolism, essentially, and doing a lot of really cool biochemistry and molecular biology to figure out essentially what makes staph tick, what makes it work. How can we find better therapeutics to combat this infection?
Okay. And then also during this time, you are a teaching assistant for some undergrad courses as well, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I'm teaching assistant at Penn. It's volunteer to be a teaching assistant. It's not required of our PhD program.
Okay.
But I do really enjoy working with undergrads and teaching. I think the mentorship aspect was integral for my development as a scientist and going into a PhD program. So so I'll a couple of days a week will help TA and mentor undergrads, specifically microbiology lab sections. It's very, very rewarding, definitely.
Terrific. And ultimately, your goal once you obtain your PhD is you want to lead a research lab, right?
Yeah, that is the end goal. I haven't decided specifically on what sector I want to wind up in, but the end goal would be, having the PhD and being somebody who is leading the science and directing where the science goes. So that's my ultimate goal.
Okay, great. Let's talk about your life outside of school for a little bit. You have you and your dog Reggie, and you guys
Yes.
are doing your thing in the city there. Tell me about him.
Yes, Reggie is my 8-year-old rescue greyhound. I rescued him or 4 years ago now. So he was about 4 turning 5 when I rescued him.
Okay.
He's great. Love him. He just sleeps all day. Greyhounds are great. Very low energy. They're sprinters, not distance runners. So very low energy. Love him. But yeah, so I live in Philly with Reggie and spend a lot of time with him just kind of exploring the city.
And you're also staying active. You do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA?
Yeah, so I've kept I really like sports. I'll occasionally play soccer as well now. It's a little, harder, especially during the pandemic, to find good groups to play soccer with.
Yeah.
But I took up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai, which is a lot of fun. I took it up like a couple of years ago when I moved to Philly. So I've just been sticking with that, doing a couple of competitions, trying to keep as active as I can while my body is still still in decent shape. It's still not broken yet, but
All right. And then, so what, some plans for the future for you? What do you see happening down the road?
Yeah, so I mean, as soon as I finish this PhD, I'm going to start applying to a variety of different scientist level positions, either in, I think right now, either industry, government. Those are 2 big ones I'm looking at. I'm also toying with the idea of sticking in the academic route, professorship. So those are, I guess, kind of the 3 different avenues that I see myself going. So yeah, once the PhD is done in about like a year and a half, that's where I'll be applying, and we'll see where I wind up. But, continuing down the path of, leading science research.
Terrific. Well, Kelsey, you're doing some exciting stuff, and we congratulate you on your success so far and wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been great having you here today. Thank you. And that's all for this episode of Where Are They Now? For other Lenape District alumnus interviews, check us out online at youtube.com/Lenape District TV. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.